Well, let me cut across to the top story that's really grabbed international headlines, Nepal's unrest. Nepal's Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli has resigned, leaving yet another of India's neighbours now in political turmoil. His exit now comes after violent anti-corruption protests that spiraled across the country, killing 19 unarmed youths and injuring nearly 500 people. The flashpoint, of course, began after KP Sharma Oli banned social media platforms on 5th of September because they did not comply with the government's rules. What began as a youth-led pushback now has morphed into a nationwide rebellion against corruption, nepotism and political mismanagement. Furious demonstrators stormed parliament, they torched the government buildings, ransacked leaders' homes. Former Prime Minister Jalanath Kanal's wife, Rajalakshmi Chitrakar, has also tragically lost her life after protests set their Dulu residence on fire. She was rescued in critical condition but later succumbed to her burn injuries. In fact, on the whole of today, mobs set the parliament ablaze, the president's office on fire, Singha Darbar, the Supreme Court, district courts, all official establishments in Nepal were set ablaze by these agitated protesters. Homes of top leaders, including President Ramchandra Podal, former PM Pushpa Kamal Dahal, and Home Minister Ramesh Lekhak, were all attacked. Finance Minister Bishnu Podal and ex-Prime Minister Sher Bahadur Dyoba were beaten on the streets of Kathmandu as violence mounted. One minister after the other stepped down. Home Minister, Agricultural Minister, Water Supplies Minister, they all resigned, and finally KP Sharma Oli himself tendered his resignation before he actually fled from Nepal. He fled the burning capital in a military chopper, likely to Dubai, and the destination is still not disclosed, but this is what we hear. The army had to finally come out and deploy in numbers to restore order, but still protests continue. Protests have in fact opened space of unconventional leaders now, for what we know. Now that KP Sharma Oli is no more the Prime Minister, who else to step in? We hear Kathmandu's rapper turned mayor, Balendra Shah, and RSP chief Rabi Lamichhane, both who were freed from jail by those protesters, are now being seen as alternatives to the political establishment. In fact, they want them to take over. Meanwhile, the unrest has hit India directly. Nearly 700 Indian passengers remain stranded after Kathmandu's Tribhuvan International Airport shut down for safety. New Delhi has urged citizens to avoid travelling to Nepal and advised those inside the country to stay indoors and follow local advisories. Nepal Army Chief Ashok Raj Sigdel, who just gave out his address, a video address, has said that the integrity of Nepal is valuable and requests and appeals for people and protesters to maintain peace, saying this is all in your hands. You've got to maintain peace to save the country in Nepal. Of course, the big question here, it raises questions around Nepal and its position. Is Nepal heading the way of Sri Lanka or Bangladesh? As Sri Lanka is settled, Bangladesh still in doldrums. We're looking at Nepal going the similar way, with youth coming out, vandalizing public property and dislodging the government that was. Joining me for a little more, Dr. Dhaval Shushmair, former MP and General Secretary RPP, live from Kathmandu. We also have Priyadarshini Khanal, Gen Z protester, joining us live from Kathmandu. In fact, let me start with Priyadarshini. She's part of those protests. I don't know if you are part of the protest, Priyadarshini. Would you want to tell us, you are a Gen Z protester. Have you hit the streets yourself? Would you tell us why this has escalated to this point? 19 youngsters protesting died. But after that, what has turned, Nepal has literally been battered by protests. Do you believe that these protesters are legitimate? Do you support this?
Thank you very much for the question, and thank you very much for inviting me. So definitely yesterday, when the fuels fired inside us, when the protest began, the protest was not just a mere protest for social media ban. The protest was anti-corruption protest. The protest was seeking for justice. The protest was asking for integrity, accountability from the government. We were opting for a peaceful protest. The peaceful protest later turned out to be a police atrocities. 19 lives were taken. It was not just a mere police control of riot. It had turned into murder scenes. I could see each and every bloodshed on those streets. The streets where we went with a pen and a paper and a book in our hand to protest against corruption, to protest against opaque government. But what we got in return was blooded hands. The government, the authority, were just authoritative people and dictators in disguise of authoritarians. We were protesting for a change. Yesterday, lives was lost. And today, there is that fueled fire in each and every individual. Now, we were just not fighting for the corruption, we were fighting for those lives that were lost, along with our anti corruption protest. The frustration, the suppression, the oppression from the government has crossed its limits. The crowd got outraged. What we were most scared of happened. Riots break all around Kathmandu city and all around the nation. We were never opting for violence. We are always advocates for peace. We were up for a peaceful protest. But when the voices have been so much suppressed, it becomes the rays comes out. One way or the other, even if we try to shut a water's force, it bursts. Same thing happened to the youth. Same thing happened to the Gen Z's protest. But at this point, what I would like to say is we do not condone violence. We do not want violence in the street. The future, the nation that we're fighting for is burning. The streets are burning. Our infrastructures are burning. I know the losses of the lives were unbearable and and the injuries were irreparable. But if we take an eye for an eye, it makes the whole world blind. This is not what we're opting for. This is not what we're rooting for. This is not the nation we're fighting for. We were fighting for freedom. We were fighting for peace. We were fighting for justice. And now the streets are full of riots, full of blood, fires. This is not the nation we're opting for. Now we have to think about the better tomorrow. We have to channel our strength. We are
Yeah,
so
I
powerful that we
agree.
can bring a change
You
in a
know, I
day.
agree. I agree. And since you are sounding so wise, um, I'm surprised to see this kind of sentiment on the ground, though. Doesn't seem like the protesters are showing any wisdom. They're out there attacking brutally and killing. So this is criminal in nature, if anything. I understand that 19 unarmed youths were killed after police clashed with those protesters and police opened fire. But that does not mean this, this indulging in this kind of violence will only push your nation to further darkness. So as wise as you sound, we're not seeing that kind of wisdom shown by the protesters on the ground. But well, yet you are taking this courage to come in front of the screen, speak to us right here on News9 to tell us what you all are going through. But yet, none of this is justified. Abhishek, would you believe, economist and social activist, he's live from Kathmandu joining us, would you believe this act of violence by the youth in Nepal is really in any way going to bring any bright future to Nepal? If that's what you wish, if that's what they wish, doesn't seem like it's going that direction.
Thank you, Nabila. Well, as Priyadarshini was saying, this movement started with all the right intentions and also the right way of going about it. But probably since today afternoon, once the PM resigned, a couple of ministers resigned, from maybe 3 or 4 p.m. today, it seems to be descending into mayhem, chaos, and anarchy, which is beginning to make people nervous, myself included. So yes, it's taking a turn for the worse, but I think that's happened because of the power vacuum, right? After the prime minister and others resigned, then you would think that the next order of call would be the president, right? So the president should have been able to kind of take control as head of state and work with the army, which is essentially the institution of last resort in any country, any society, and together, bring the Gen Z protesters, their leaders, as well as other youth leaders who are respected by a lot of Nepalese, including Gen Z, like people like Balen, Rabi Lamichhane, which are names I presume you've heard of, and then try to form some kind of an all-party government, right? But what has been lacking for the last few hours, in my view, is this silence from the president, who himself is in hiding. By the way, his office was also ransacked. So
Do we know?
I hear
Yeah.
that he's been taken to some safe place by the army, but why he is not taking the next steps to take things into control is a mystery to me. And the
But it's
army,
scary as it is. You have the leaders who were present at their homes were
yes,
killed, quite literally. You have the former prime minister's wife who was trapped in her house. They didn't let her step out. They set the
yes,
house ablaze while
yes,
ensuring that she was locked inside. So that's nothing but criminal in nature.
it's I know it's crazy, but this is not something that just happened overnight. You see, in my view, this is something that has been simmering for 10, 15, maybe 20 years, right? There have been other movements in the past.
But
I'm
how
not
old
sure
are
to what
they?
extent the Indian media
These
has.
students are barely even 30.
Yes, yeah, Gen
Not
Z.
even.
That's what they are, right? But what the point I was trying to make is, this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is the anger and frustration against misrule, misgovernance, bad governance, corruption has been going on for 10, 15 years. I'd say it began with the
Okay.
Vivek movement,
So,
which started in
I'm
2012.
actually very shocked to know that the Gen Z is agitating against corruption that's been going on for 10, 15 years.
Yes,
More to me, this looks like an absolute outrage because social media has been
yes.
banned. So once you have nothing to do, you're free. You have a large scale unemployment we hear in Nepal. So the youth are out on the streets because they have nothing to engage them. Social media was a tool to engage them, and now that's gone. And
Well, it's
this is
been
of course,
restored. The
yeah,
social media was banned, true, but it has already been restored since yesterday, right?
it's been
But
restored.
yes, so and the Gen Z protests began peacefully enough. It started at 9 a.m. Yesterday morning, but when it took a turn for the worse was when 20 young people were brutally massacred. Essentially, that's what they are. I mean, where in the world does it happen that on the very first day of the revolution, police fire bullets aiming at heads and chests, aiming to take lives? You start with rubber bullets, you
Just a
start with
moment.
water cannons, tear
When
gas.
was social
You know
media restored?
Yesterday already. So it's been more, I'd say 24 hours
Social
since
media
it's
was
been
restored
restored.
yesterday. When were the 19
Yep,
people killed?
yesterday.
19 were killed
And I'm
yesterday.
unaware if any have been killed today.
Okay, and you're saying that because 19 were killed, this agitation has escalated to this extent. When
Exactly. So, so,
has
so
the
this,
army come
it,
into
it's,
play? We heard the
so
army
it's
chief
the
give a statement.
government's bad handling of what was otherwise a peaceful protest that has led to this, call it madness.
Okay.
Over
We
to
also
you.
have
Thank you.
Babina Mokhtan Lawoti, member Constituent Assembly, former MP RPP from Nepal, Kathmandu. Thank you, Babina. Would you want to give us your take on KP Sharma Oli resigning? He's now fled the country. Do you know where he is? Is there any information where KP Sharma Oli is? We hear reports suggesting he's in Dubai for some kind of medical treatment.
Thank you. Yes, I also have heard it mm, uh, from different posts on social media that KP Sharma Oli is not in the country and he's fled to Dubai, but it has not been confirmed yet. It has not been confirmed. So you really don't know whether he is still in Nepal or he has already fled to Dubai. He could still be in Nepal. There is the probability.
Where is this turning to? What is this protest? What does it mean to the larger population of Nepal? We know the youngsters are protesting largely, but what about the wiser, mature population in Nepal? Are they backing the youth?
The Nepal as such, the whole it's the the agitation, the protest about Gen Z and the social media ban is just it's just the tip of the iceberg, like the former a friend just mentioned about it, it's not just about the social media ban, and this revolt has not just the situation today is not the outcome of just the social media ban and what's happening. It's a suppression. It's the corruption that has been going on in Nepal for the past 20 or 20 plus years. So all this suppressed anger, it's not it's not just Gen Z, it's the whole country. We are all fed up of this corruption.
A sentiment and a mood that prevails across the country and not just among the youth. We also have Sachin Temilsina, youth leader, Nepali Congress Party, also with us. Sachin, your take on this? Do you believe that these protests will subside anytime soon? Bangladesh is looking at an interim government. Who is your option? Who is an alternative now for Nepal?
First up, this protest was something that we feared, and we did have a long conversation in our party about. Uh, However, the scenario now looks very uncertain. There was a rumor for some time that the president had also resigned, but army somehow managed to keep its ceremonial head on the post. So there seems to be some sort of path that is slowly being paved, but I don't think anybody has a path to guide the country clearly from here. People were expecting Balendra Shah, the mayor of Kathmandu, to actually come out on the street and lead the protest, and many of us thought so as well. That not being the case, the problem with the government dealing with this situation is there is no one leadership or one entity that is leading this protest. So nobody knows whom to talk to, or if there is a single consensus leadership among the protesting fraction as well. Now in this case, the constitution, it's difficult to dissolve the parliament as per our constitution, the constitution we've made. So as far as I know, somebody whom the Gen Z protesters would likely listen to is Balin Shah, the way it seems. And his first demand through his Facebook status that we can see is the dissolving of the parliament at the first. So it's a confusing situation, really. And the army chief also did not give away much information regarding what is there. He just called the Gen Z for a talk, but then whom did he call? That's something everybody's confused about. There is no single entity, as I said, that's leading the protest. And yes, the killing yesterday was horrific, and this is what has given the Gen Z so much of raise that they've gone on very aggressive on the field today. But at some point of time, this has to stop. There was even talks of people gathering around Pashupatinath. So there may be infiltration. There may be other forces that have come in. There are now talks of foreign elements getting in as well. But this has to stop, and somebody has to lead this mob. And for that thing, I think what is been the major concern is who is it that these people will listen to. That's the major question. And
For that, right?
if
Priyadarshini, who is it that the Gen Z will listen to? Who is it that you want as an alternative?
Um, so we definitely want someone who has as patriotic blood as ours, but in the current scenario, the situation is very uncertain. We were hoping that the Mayor Balinsa of Kathmandu would take the lead, as my former speaker also mentioned, but that was definitely not the case. The violence has gone above and beyond. It is unimaginable. The public infrastructures and properties has been vandalized, burned. Now at this point, even civilians are at danger because the houses near those infrastructure are at danger, and those
Yeah.
houses are the residence of the civilians. So right now the situation is very uncertain. We are looking for a leadership from someone who is as patriotic and has as patriotic blood as ours. We want a nation. Now we don't want a leader or anybody coming for opportunities or any opportunist coming with any sort of ill mindset or ill motive. We just want people who actually want to do something for the change. And right now, giving a name right away is really difficult with all the uncertain situations and everything ongoing in the streets of Kathmandu and everything that has been done. Even we cannot even say if the martial law will prevail or anything that will happen, because even as former speaker also mentioned, even the army chief just called for a Gen Z talk, and they did not mention whom to talk, who is that Gen Z, who is taking the leadership. So the situation is very uncertain,
So
and we
you're
are
saying
still
within the
hoping for the best
protesters
outcome.
itself, there are multiple different groups? So then,
um,
how do you know who's violent? How do you know who's reasonable? Who can come to the table
Definitely,
without?
now that's the major issue here, because we are not being able to characterize or differentiate who is actually instigating or agitating a violence and who is actually up for a peaceful protest. Now the situation has been a very dire and very uncontrollable. At this point, we cannot distinguish who is actually agitating a, or who is actually firing a fuel, or who is adding the fuel to the fire. The situation has been very gruesome and very gruesome in the streets of Kathmandu right now. And with the lack of leadership, with the lack of governance, with the lack of any guardian of the state right now in the context of Nepal, it has been very difficult to even come out and speak and ask for any leadership that should be taken over at this moment.
Okay. You know, before I end here, as I'm short on time, I will play out the army chief of Nepal who spoke. I appreciate all our guests joining us, but let's listen in once more for those who are watching us and our continued coverage on Nepal crisis. Here's the army chief after the Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli resigned and fled the country. Army chief now almost overseeing the situation. Here's his message to the people of Nepal.
नेपालको इतिहासदेखि नै
The Army appeals to all citizens to maintain peace and security. The Army has also expresses regret over damage to public property during the demonstrations. The Nepal Army is always committed to the safety and security of Nepal and its people, and is fully dedicated to protecting lives and property in the current situation. The Army emphasizes that the protection of public assets, including historical, cultural, and national heritage, is a shared responsibility. It urges the citizens to act with restraint and preserve social harmony and national unity amid the ongoing unrest.